now, it's time for the LJN Fight Night Podcast. Hosted by The Plan, Zash Man. The Victorian, Brother Brutus Valentine. And everyone's favorite man all up in smoke, Duarte the Punch. Ladies and gentlemen, they're ready to rumble, so let's go to the studio. Take it away, Zash Man.
All right, we are back for episode 19 of Fight Night Podcast. Welcome to our...
How's it going? How's it going, buddy? Brutus is not here.
Brutus?
But wait, did you hear me? Because I was staticking in and out. Can you hear me well or no? Perfect.
You sound
That's
all right,
good to
mate.
hear.
You sound all right for a... Yeah, no Brutus, mate. No Brutus. He's gone on a holiday. It's just you and me and a very special guest we've got on tonight. So a quick update to everyone. There's more custom comps coming up. I just want to quickly brief on it. The other one was a good success. Everyone was happy. Everyone done great. Goat Chad will be doing more custom comps for the rest of the year, hopefully. So keep them rolling in, guys. Keep the customs rolling in. So, what? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. I know it sounds
right,
like
Dwight?
you're
What's wrong with
freezing,
you?
so I can't really. I can hear you, but you're not. Yeah, maybe it's just my end.
Am I?
It might just be on my
Am
end
I
right
free-
now. It was once we went live, but
We don't
How
need
about
that in the show.
no.
Well, I'm going to bring on our very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is a character. He's a funny guy, and he's got some wicked stories. What a life he's lived. Let's bring him on.
Yes, sir. Somebody gon' get their ass kicked. Somebody gon' get their wings lit. Somebody gon' get their ass kicked. Somebody gon' get their wings lit. Beat 'em up, break the stick.
And now I'm excited to introduce to our Fight Night Podcast. The great Cooley Crabb.
This man never can. You imagine the pain that I bring.
What's up, guys?
What's going on? Give you the spotlight again.
I love it. Zash is cutting in and out on me, though. I was watching.
We've
from
got another
backstage.
freeze up.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say there, you met quite a few guys. Eh? Well, you obviously know Honky Tonk very well, but you mean Gene, Mike Tyson, the Bushwhacker, Mario Jannetty there, just to name a few. That's pretty cool. I think the only one guys I've met, not really met, was Virgil. I saw him when I went to some like signing, but I didn't talk to him. And I think I saw Ronda Rousey at like the hotel when they were wrestling here in Toronto.
Nice.
But that doesn't
Yeah, I've actually been to barbecues at Mike Tyson's house, so I've hung
wow.
out with Mike quite a bit.
nice.
I don't know if I'm freezing in and out, but Zash
No.
was freezing in and out
Yeah.
backstage while I was watching.
Okay, yeah. So you're okay. So was I okay or no?
Yeah, you were good. It was just
Okay.
Zash.
Aha. I thought it was
Yeah.
myself.
I've got that ability. Mate, yeah, like Dwight was saying, you know some legendary people. How did I'm going to start off by asking you a few questions, if that's all right,
Absolutely.
before we dig into everything. So, look, in about 1997, I saw that Beyond the Ropes documentary, and it took me a long while to know, because I watched it over and over again. It was one of those video VHS tapes that really got worn out, because I loved the whole backstage look of it. And I saw this scene on where you were being interviewed. I didn't know it was you until many, 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 many times later, when you came out and said, "Hey, that is actually me." And I'm like, wow.
Right.
So was that early on in your wrestling profession? How did it come about?
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit on a prior podcast about how I started in the business with Honky Tonk Man and with Roland Alexander from APW, and a few other people. What basically happened there was prior to going to APW and working with Roland Alexander and Mike Modest and those guys, and Crash Hawley, who at the time was Leprechaun Aaron O'Grady, Vic Grimes from ECW was there, several guys. But so I had put on a few shows with a guy named Eddie Davis and with Sammy Fatu, who was the Tonga Kid, Tama. And Jake basically had called us. We booked him. We sent him a retainer. I called it a retainer in the movie. Basically, what we did was we paid for his plane ticket. You'll see when you book some of these older guys, the way that you get them, booked is you just pay for the plane ticket. Then they know that they're coming and you're going to pay them whatever. Well, on this occasion, Jake Roberts called my house and he said, basically, I need you to get me some crack. And I said, Jake, I don't know how to get you any crack, bro. I really don't. I didn't know how to get him any crack. And so he went off on me and he hung up on me. And I looked over at Eddie Davis and I said, fucking Roberts just hung up on me because I couldn't get him any crack. And he's like, oh shit, I'll answer the next call. I'm like, he's going to call back. He's like, he'll call back. So he calls back like 5 minutes later. Hey man, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have acted like that. I'll be at the show. It's all good. But can you get me some crack? And Eddie goes, no, man, I can't get you any crack. This goes on for like 20 minutes. And finally, he tells me to go fuck myself. He doesn't come to the show. So what happens is, fast forward to the filming of Beyond the Mat, Barry Blaustein, who was very close with Jesse the Body Ventura and several people in the WWF. And people had a lot of trust for Barry Blaustein. So when he went to film this movie, everybody was on board. And he used that to his advantage because he really was a scumbag. In fact, he told Jake Roberts that the film was a documentary about the dangers of smoking crack that he would then show to children so that they would not get hooked on narcotics. And he told everybody basically what they wanted to hear. So he hears the story secondhand about Jake calling my house. So he comes up to me and he says, hey, I want to interview you. So we do a 45-minute interview. 45 minutes, Ash. And out of that 45 minutes, he pulls out the one part that he wants to pull out, which is the Jake Roberts crack story. By the way, I said, hey, I don't want to tell this story because Jake's going to fucking kick my ass. And he said, no. I've got Jake on camera smoking crack. He's on board. Everything's good. Yeah, that wasn't the case. So
this was 97, you said?
I think it was 97. Yeah. And so the local radio station 102.5 was doing a screening of Beyond the Mat at the local theater. And they had called me and they said, hey, you're in the movie. You're wrestling out here. We want you to come and do a Q&A. And I said, okay. So I get there, I do the Q&A. I walk out of the Q&A. I basically get a text message, not a text message. It's on a fucking pager at the time. And it was like a fuck you on a pager. And it was Jake the Snake Roberts. And I was like, what did I do? Like, he fucking told me that, so long story short, Jake hated me forever. But how that happened was I was at Roland's and they were filming and they asked me to tell the story and I did. And Roland went, to Roland's credit, he went like this. He goes, oh man, I'm getting out of here. He goes, I don't want any part of this. He saw the train wreck coming. Me, I just wanted to be in the biggest wrestling movie that was ever going to be made. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll tell the story. It happened. It's not like I made it up. So yeah, so that's how that happened.
So Jake never spoke to you again?
Until Cauliflower Alley Club, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I went up to him and I said, hey man, how you been? And he kind of looked at me for a second. I thought he might kill me. And then he goes, I'm good. And he walked off. And then like 2 hours later, Honky, okay, I shouldn't even be saying this shit, but Honky sends me a text message. He goes, I'll give you $500 to prove that whatever Jake has in his water bottle is alcohol, because he was supposed to be clean and sober at the time. So, but Honky was joking, obviously. And so later on, he sees a picture of me and Jake because we start talking. Things get more comfortable. I'm hanging out with Scott Hall. We're at TGI Fridays in the casino, and we're all hanging out. And so Jake started being pretty cool to me. And it had been so many years, man. It was like whatever, And he knew that Blaustein worked everyone. So, but yeah, it was pretty touch and go for a while with Jake. I didn't even really want to be around him because I didn't want to get killed by Jake Roberts.
Is he a tall guy compared to you or what?
Super tall. I'm 6'2". He's much taller than me. I mean, listen. I'm a trained MMA fighter. I'm an Army Ranger. I'm 6'2", 250, solid muscle. I would probably beat the shit out of Jake Roberts, but I don't think I would even hit him. It's like, dude, I went on a movie and said that this dude demanded crack from me. I'd probably take the beating that he wanted to give me. You know what I mean? I should have been smarter than that, and I wasn't. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Now, it's a good story, though, man, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But it's funny how he's like, give me crack or I'm not coming.
Yeah, it was like that's basically it. Like, then I'm not coming to your fucking show. You know?
Fuck.
But I get all that shit. I mean, Honky's like one of my best friends in the world, and he didn't come to my show because there was a sandstorm in Cincinnati, Ohio. A sandstorm. So we still talk about that.
He didn't. What? Like he was flying or what? Driving.
Yeah, so he didn't make it.
What do you
Whatever. Yeah.
So from all them honkies, you're the from more like I'm gonna talk just LJN. From all the LJN characters, honkies like your closest friend, I guess.
Yeah, I would say Honky and Brian Blair. I'm super close with B. Brian Blair. LJN wise, I was super close with Mean Gene Okerlund. He, before he died, he did a lot for me. It's funny because when I met him, he had just heard me announce a little bit for an award show, and he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, let's go have a drink." And so we went up to the bar. Actually, the same night that my buddy Gerald Briscoe got into a shoot wrestling match with Brian Blair in a bathroom at the casino in Las Vegas. But I'm sitting there with Gene, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, did you ever think about working for the Fed?" And I said, "Well, obviously I've thought about working for the Fed." And he goes, "Well, let me see what I can do." And then we were exchanging texts and discussing it, and he passed away. So nothing ever came of it. Not that it probably ever would have. He was doing what he could, but
Hey, you
in
never
the
know,
end,
man. Hey, you never know.
yeah, you never really know, but it was
right?
cool.
If it was offered, there's opportunity. It could have happened, right?
Right.
So,
You've been in the mix there, Jim. Sort of you're good friends with Honky, and you did know Jake. I think fairly well.
Yeah.
Now rewind back a few years. Honky Tonk Man smashing his guitar over Jake the Snake Roberts.
that was supposed to be a fake guitar, but it was a real one or something like that. I can't remember what the story was.
Well, let
Or
me tell you, it depends who you ask.
Yeah.
According to Jake, the guitar was supposed to be gimmicked and wasn't. According to Honky, the guitar was supposed to be gimmicked and was. According to other people, it was just swung incorrectly or too hard. Now, listen, I've wrestled a million matches. I've been hit with chairs, gone through tables, all that shit. So I know how bad things can happen. I'll tell you a crazy quick story. Donovan Morgan was wrestling in Newark, California, and there was supposed to be a belt shot. And you've seen a belt shot. You kind of fold the belt, you hit him with the plate, and it's kind of supposed to skip off of him. Well, this guy swung the fucking belt. He was green as shit. Swung the belt and sliced open Donovan Morgan's face across here like this. So next thing you know, Morgan grabs the belt from him, fucking punches him in the face, and just starts beating the holy hell out of him with this belt. So things can happen.
Yeah.
Jake holds a notorious grudge for Honky for that. And in turn, Honky holds a notorious grudge for that. You know, if I had to guess, I would say somewhere along the line, there was some miscommunication. I highly doubt, I know Honky very well, and people can say what they want about him. I highly doubt, in fact, I know that Honky would never set out to end someone's career through some stupid shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could have been just that he picked up the wrong guitar on the way out. Who knows?
Someone could have swapped it. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. At the end of the day, I don't think someone intentionally wanted to hurt someone because Honky wasn't a champion at the time. He wasn't Intercontinental Champion, right? No, I don't
really
think.
Good question.
Like it's not like he had a title, and Jake didn't have any titles in the WWF. So
actually, I think he did have the belt, didn't he? He won the belt fairly quickly because they wanted to get it off of Ricky because Ricky wanted to leave and go be with his son. So
yeah, that's exactly what happened. Apparently they were going to give it to Bad News Brown or something. But
I know there was talk of Brad News Brown, yeah.
But I am glad Honky would have it because he was a good heel. He was one of those guys that you love to hate. If you hate the character, that means he's a good heel. Just like when Jacques Rougeau was here a couple episodes ago, and as the Mountie, I hated him. Like I hate him because he was just that. Like he was a good heel. If you could play the heel a good part, then it's good. You know, he played a great part, and that's why. And I love how he always says he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like that's just saying I'm better than everyone else. You know,
right.
Well, the story I heard about Honky getting the Intercontinental Championship, they didn't decide it until the night when Bad News Brown didn't show up, and so they said, "Who are we going to give it to?" And the story I heard was Hulk Hogan said, "Why don't you give it to him?" and pointed to Honky.
That's always been the story. That's the story I've heard from Honky. I can try to help you guys get him on here, and you could just ask him point blank. But that's the story I've always heard.
Can you imagine? You're just sitting there and you're like, give it to him. And you're like,
I mean,
"Holy
and that
shit,
was
I'm
and
gonna
that
make
was at a
money."
time when if Hogan said something, it mattered. It held a lot of weight, right?
And also on the card too. Like if the more up the cards you were, the more money you made, right? If you're the second last
absolutely.
guy, like if you're the first guy on the card, yeah. So obviously that was huge. He's like, holy shit! Not only am I going to be an Intercontinental champion, I'm going to be making more money.
Yeah, and then it's funny because, like Zash said, it was supposed to go to Bad News, and on top of that, it was never even really supposed to leave Ricky. Ricky was supposed to have a very long push and run with the belt, but he wanted to go home and be with his family, and they were like, "Fuck you! We just went through all this and gave you the belt. Get out of here!" You know, so they took it from him. But yeah,
first child, I think.
What's that?
I think he just had his first child from memory. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he had the baby for a while, but it was getting to that age where he was missing things, and he wanted to be there. You know, he used to bring him into the ring and hold him up. And look, it was Ricky Jr., who, by the way, went on to wrestle Ric Flair's kid for the state championship in North Carolina, and it was a huge situation. You know, so yeah. I mean, it was. You can't blame the guy. I mean, he wants to be with his family, but. Back then, the Intercontinental title was the belt, man. I mean, that was the workers' belt. You had that belt, it's because you could flat out go.
Yeah.
So,
100%. 100%. Everyone who's had the Intercontinental Championship are good wrestlers. You know, they are really good workers.
But I'm glad it went that way because if it went to Bad News, he wouldn't have held the title for too long. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he wouldn't have held the title for too long. He wasn't like he was a heel, but he wasn't like a heel that you hated. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like I don't think
they tried really hard to get Bad News Brown over. They really did. He was a legitimate bad motherfucker. That guy was like a judo champion, and I mean, apparently there's the story that goes around that he called Andre off the bus after Andre made a racist comment, and Andre said no thanks, boss, and he stayed on the bus and didn't want any part of Bad News. I mean, how true that story is, I don't know, but a lot of people tell it. So he was definitely a legitimate bad guy. So.
Tough dude. Yeah.
Even if they gave Rick Rude like a good year title with that title, he played a great heel and he held the title for a little bit. Yeah, but good for Honky having it for that fucking year.
I'll tell you.
And he had that special Intercontinental belt too with that WWF in red, right? He was the only one.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny Honky story. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was. I want to say 76,000. Honky will correct me, I'm sure. But I'm at the gathering of the Juggalos in Peoria, Illinois, and I'm sitting at Honky's table. He's signing autographs, and we're just bullshitting. And some Mark comes up, and he just walks up and he goes, "Hey, man, I watched you get your ass kicked in 30 seconds at SummerSlam by the Ultimate Warrior." And Honky's, I mean, just like this. He goes, "Yeah, $76,000 I made that night, bitch." Just like fast as he could say it. And the kid walked off. But it's like he had it ready, you know. He's just ready to go. And he's right. Like, I lost it. Yeah, I was supposed to lose. I also made a shit ton of money. You know what I mean? People, it's like they think these guys get offended. And it's funny when the wrestlers get mad because they have to job out. Everyone knows you didn't actually lose.
Yeah.
This isn't 1984 anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that match was great. Like, how many people have rewatched it on YouTube?
Oh,
even though it's such a short match, you know how many people have watched a match? So that match was something. Lose or win, it doesn't matter. He changed. He's what paved the road for WrestleMania 6, Hogan versus Warrior, champion versus champion, right? And
that match isn't nearly as good at SummerSlam if it's not Honky getting beat by the Warrior. You know?
And like especially like 0 seconds. And I think it was Heenan talking, right? He was the announcer, and he's like, "This guy's an animal. This guy's crazy." And then the interview right afterwards, when Honky's in the dressing room with Jimmy Hart going, "I didn't even take off my
his jumpsuit."
Yeah, no, it was he played a great part. Good for Honky. And who cares if you lose and you made $76K? I'll lose every day for $76K. I don't care. Call me a loser. Who gives a shit? I'm making $76K to drop a belt and only work for 30 seconds.
Do the math. How much is that an hour?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
30 seconds. Boom. I'll do it every weekend if you want.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be amazing if Jim did get him to come on LJN Fight Night podcast? That would be
I know he goes through these phases where he's like, "I'm not going to do any more podcasts." He was going through that phase when he came onto my show the last time, but then I see him go do them, and then he doesn't do them, and then he does them. You know, him and I argued about the Hall of Fame for years. They kept trying to bring him in, and he kept saying no, because I don't know how much you guys know about the Hall of Fame, but at the time, I don't know now. I actually was dating a girl who was basically Triple H's right-hand man. I won't say her name, but she works for NXT now. And I had seen the Hall of Fame contract, so I knew what Honky was talking about, but they had these no compete clauses. So they'd bring these legends in, like, you know, Bushwhacker Luke, Honky Tonk Man, whoever, Ricky. And if you went into the Hall of Fame, you weren't allowed to go wrestle for like 6 months, which doesn't sound like a big deal until you're the Honky Tonk Man and you're trying to support your family and your money relies on going out every weekend and hitting these shows and wrestling a quick little 5-minute bullshit match and make $600, $700, $800. And so he's like, why would I do that? They're going to pay me bullshit money and I'm only going to get paid once. And then I can't do anything for 6 months. So then finally, yeah. And it's, you know, a lot of these guys, I'm gonna tell you guys something that breaks my heart a little bit, just to kind of pull the curtain back. When I first started promoting shows and doing my own events, I would have these WWF legends, in my eyes, legends, like guys I grew up on, and they would email me and just basically beg me for work. Like, hey, do you have anything coming up? Have you heard of anything? I need to get some work. I need to work. And I'm sitting here going, fuck, I just assumed in my little head that these guys were all millionaires, you know?
Not like
they're superheroes. Yeah. And so it was heartbreaking, man. So when he would say that to me, I would get upset and I'd be like, man, you got to go in the Hall of Fame because it's going to give you a nice little push. Because these guys, when they go in, then they get that little rub and they get to go do big shows and stuff. Eventually, they rewrote the contract for Honky. He was able to go into the Hall of Fame and continue to wrestle without the no compete clause, which I thought was pretty cool. And I think they do that for some guys now as well.
Something I'm noticing, does Honky Tonk kind of call himself that amongst his friends, or does he use his real name? Because you're quite,
he goes by his middle name, Wayne. Right. So when I talk to him, I call him Wayne. His name is Roy Wayne, but he goes by Wayne. So we all call him Wayne. I'll still call him HTM. He calls himself HTM. You call his voicemail, it's HTM's on the road. I'll call you back. But yeah, I've always called him Honky, and I'll call him and I'll say that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Oh, cool, man. I noticed you're also into a lot of old school sort of stuff that I'm into as well. You got a few Hossois, which is my skateboard as a kid was a green Hossoi.
Nice.
So I also grew up with BMXs, racing them and stuff.
Nice.
Does anyone know what the name of this BMX is that was on ET?
No.
What does it tell us?
Kiwahara. Now,
there's
a good story behind the BMX they used in ET that was going to be Mongoose, but they chose the Japanese brand Kiwahara, which is a very expensive bike now. So if anyone sees a Kiwahara old school BMX, going cheap, snap it up because they're worth big money.
Wow. Okay.
Any old school BMXs.
So is that bike that they have at the Wax Museum is the same bike they had in the movie?
It's similar.
Similar. Okay.
So the one you're on there is not the exact bike. It looks like it's not even a Kiwahara. It's got the newer tires. It's got the decals on it, but they've just decaled up a different bike there.
Gotcha.
Stickers on it, but they probably didn't want to
save money.
$3,000 or $4,000 for something.
Yeah, that no one else was going to notice.
But that's Wax, is it? Is that Wax?
Yeah, that was Wax Museum. Yeah, that's Madame Tussauds in Hollywood.
If you sit on a Wax bike, mate, it's going.
The bike's not Wax, but the ET is.
Yeah, mate. A guy of your size, mate, to crush a Wax bike. So, all right, stepping back before you got into the wrestling biz, you were a rapper called Cooley Crabb.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this, mate, if you want to share it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I told the story about Ricky Lake on the last show. You know, when I was wrestling, I actually was in wrestling already at this point. I had just went to the APW boot camp and had a falling out with Roland and the guys. And so I was doing my own events and I had picked up the Juggalo gimmick, which is the Insane Clown Posse fan base. And it wasn't even really a gimmick. I mean, I have 3 Juggalo tattoos on me. I absolutely was, in fact, a Juggalo. And so I would come out to ICP's music and do all that stuff. Well, in turn, I built this huge fan base of wrestling fans that were also rap fans. And I'd always kind of wanted to be a rapper. So I put out a single. I just went to a friend's house and I recorded a single called Haters. And I brought 400 of them to my wrestling show. I think it was 400 of them, something like that, a few hundred. And they sold out quickly. I just put that one single, just had one song on the CD, and they all sold out that night. And so that led me to do more music. That song sucked, by the way, really badly. And but I got better and I got better and I got better. And eventually Channel 13, which is KCRA, which is CBS out here, they brought me on. One of the anchors, Paul Johnsich, brought me on. He came to Rap Boot Camp. He went on stage with us. He did a song with us. They did a whole, I want to say like a 9-minute segment of me on the 5 o'clock news. And then my friend's mom called Ricky Lake when they were looking for rappers. They put me on Ricky Lake. I did that. I opened for Fat Joe at Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. I did 2 shows with Obi Trice, who is on Eminem's label, Shady Records, and just little stuff like that. It was fun. Yeah, I had a good time, man. Ricky Lake was fun. I think I told that story on the last show. But it was a little.
People would remember that show. That was going back over a year ago now on the Figure Guys podcast.
So
if
you
you
tell
want
it?
to brief on it,
Yeah.
for sure,
So
man.
basically, what happened was, and it's a funny story because, like I said on the last show, this has happened to me twice now. I was laying in my bed, and I'm not by any means a morning person, and by morning I mean 1 p.m. I'm not a 1 p.m. person, and so especially back then when all I was doing was rapping and wrestling. So my phone rings and it's a lady on the other end and she says, "This is so-and-so, the producer from Ricky Lake." A producer, because at the time I didn't really know that each individual episode has their own producer. So there's several producers working at one time on a Ricky Lake show. And I immediately assumed that it was one of my friends bullshitting me. And so I just hung up on her. And she called right back and she said, "Hey, don't hang up, call this number back." And I did. And it was Viacom. I think it was Viacom. And she said, "Hey, we want you to come on the Ricky Lake show. We're doing a show called Beats from the Streets. We're going to have break dancers and rappers, and you're going to do a rap contest, and the winner gets to go to the showtime at the Apollo." So they flew me and my sister out. I believe it was a Tuesday. We had to go out by Thursday, so it was quick, turn around to New York. And my other sister flew with us as well. And they kind of fucked me, Zash. I came in, and we did a run through the night before, and I could hear myself clean. My beat was loud. My mic was nice. Everything was on point. I ran through my verse, killed it, went back to the hotel. Me and my sisters walked down through New York past Central Park, just kind of see stuff. It was super late. And I was in a good mood. I'm like, fuck, man, I killed that. I'm going to kill it tomorrow on the show. Go back to bed, wake up, come back in the morning. We're going to tape the show. They call me out first. As soon as I come out, my mic is turned all the way down. I can't hear shit. My headphones or not my headphones, but the monitor was really low. You'll see me on the show. I'll walk up and lean into the speaker to try to hear my beat because I could hear nothing. Turns out they finally turn it up. I kind of get it. The crowd liked it. It was actually pretty good. But what happened was the Big Timers, which was a rap group back then, was supposed to be the judges, and they couldn't make it. So they brought in Donnell Rawlings, who played on the Dave Chappelle show. He's a comedian now. You probably know who he is. And his goal when he got there was, I'm going to fuck up the white guy. Like, no matter what. I could have been the second coming of Eminem. He was going to do it no matter what. So when the song ends, he goes, "What is it, Cooley Kills?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "All you killed was my appetite for hip hop." And I shot him a death stare. And then he goes, "Yeah, I hope your album goes double aluminum." And in my head, I'm like, how many different ways can I kill this guy with my bare hands when I get my hands on him? Well, he's not thinking that. He's thinking he's just a fucking funny dude.
Yeah. So
we go backstage. And he comes around the corner and we just kind of meet in the middle. And he goes, "Hey, man, that was fun. No hard feelings, whatever. And I go, "Man, you got like 5 seconds to get your fucking hand out of my face or I'm going to beat the living shit out of you." And he just kind of freezes. And I go, "Dude, this was my chance. You already have a career. I don't have a career. There's millions of people watching this. And you just decided to humiliate me for no fucking reason. If I sucked, cool. But I didn't. Get the fuck out of my face or I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat." Security comes over. They break it up. Then it turns out they never had me sign a release form for the show. My sister at the time was super rich. She was a multimillionaire. She's next to me on the couch in the green room. And they come up and they hand me this piece of paper and they go, "Hey, Cooley Kills, we forgot to have you sign this release form." I snatch it. I'm in an angry mood and I start to sign it. My sister grabs it, fucking rips it in half. The piece of paper basically said they owned my song. So the producer goes, "Well, if you don't sign it, we won't air the episode." And my sister goes, "Good, don't air it. We don't want you to air it." Because I didn't want him to fucking air it.
Yeah.
Ricky comes in, calls me out into the hallway, and she's rubbing on my fucking shoulder and, oh, sweetie, you know, I really need you to sign this. You did such a good job. And she's trying to butter me up. And I'm like, look, if my sister says I'm not signing it, I'm not signing it. Ends up, they aired the episode anyway. The piece of paper really meant nothing other than they didn't own my song. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Sounds like a crazy story.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you were in the wrestling profession at that time as well.
Yeah. In fact, my sister really wanted to put some money into my rap career. I'll tell you a cool story about my sister. I did a show downtown Old Sacramento, a rap concert, and she sent some hot chicks out to every club in Old Sacramento with free drink tickets. They weren't actually free drink tickets. She opened a tab at the bar and paid for all these drinks and then sent these girls around to just round people up from the other clubs to come to my concert. So by the time she was done, the house was full. I killed it. She had to pay the entire bar tab just to help me out. So, but one of her stipulations, if she funded my rap career, was that I couldn't wrestle anymore because she was tired of watching me throw money down the drain and hurt myself. And I was scheduled to wrestle Jimmy Superfly Snuka. So this is a really personal story, but it's kind of funny. So I'm going to tell you. So my oldest sister and we all have this sit down, my middle sister as well. And she's like, look, I'm going to take you and I'm going to buy you all these stage outfits. I'm going to pay for your career. I'm going to pay to press your album. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But you can't wrestle Jimmy Superfly Snuka next month. Now, this is me getting a chance to wrestle my childhood idol. I was jumping Jim Cooley when I was younger. Jimmy Snuka was my man. Yeah. And so I basically told her where she could stick it and her money. And then I get in the car with my other sister who drove this SUV, my sister, Lori. So sorry, Lori, my best friend. And we're driving down the road and she's like, you're so dumb. You're so dumb. I'm like, I'm not dumb. She's like, you're dumb. She's like, all you had to do was just like, shut the fuck up for like 10 minutes, get everything situated and then go wrestle him. She didn't even have to know. So then we get in a fight. She's going 35 miles an hour. I go, stop the car. My sister goes, no, I'm not going to stop the car. I go, well, fuck you then. I open the door and I jump out at 35 miles an hour and go tumbling down the road. And my sister's in shock. So she just drives off, dude, and just leaves me on the side of the road. All this over wrestling Jimmy Superfly Snuka, which, by the way, I did. And it was probably the greatest moment in my entire life. So I'm glad it happened.
That's like 45 miles is like
35 miles an hour. Yeah.
35 is like.
Yeah,
that's like 50 kilometers. That's crazy, man.
It did not feel good, dude.
Oh my God.
I just tumbled down the road. I had shorts on. It was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever done. And then I look back on it. I'm like, for what? Yeah. Like, was I making a statement? Like, what did I accomplish with that? You know?
It was funny. You got to fight Jimmy Snuka.
I did. And it was funny because my little niece at the time was like 2 when she was in her car seat. She's like 19 now. Or 20, 21, 22, something. And she just kept saying, Uncle Jimmy jumped out of the truck. Uncle Jimmy's gone. He's gone. No more Uncle Jimmy, because I just jumped out of the truck while we were going down the road. It was stupid. It was fun, though.
And who won that match with you and Jimmy?
Snuka. And it's funny because God, I looked forward to that so much. And when he got there, he looked really old and frail. And I just walked up to him and I said, hey, Jimmy, my name's Jim Cooley. I'm your opponent tonight. And I was the big face in the territory. Like, I mean, at any moment I would sell 80 to 100 tickets on my own. And I said, what do you want to do tonight? And he just looked at me and he goes, are you well-trained, brother? And I said, I think so. And he goes, then let's just have fun. And he walked off. And I'm like, no, like we have to come up with something. Like I'm getting in the ring with Jimmy Snuka. Like I'm not that good.
Yeah.
So then he came up to me right before the match and he goes, you're going over. And I said, no. And he goes, your territory, your house, you're going over. We'll make it look good. I go, no. I refused. I flat out refused. So then he said, okay. So then we get out there. We're in the middle of the match. He's like, you ready to go home? I said, yeah. And he goes, I want you to go to the top and hit me with the Superfly. And I go, no, fuck no, I'm not doing that. But it was a face match, right? So the crowd was on both our sides. And he goes, just do it, brother, just do it. So I go up there and I hold up the Superfly, I love you, jump, he moves, hit the mat. He stands up, picks me up, slams me. He goes, you ready? And I said, I've never been more ready. And he goes up to the top rope and I'm laying in the middle of the ring. Now think this is an LJN kid who played with this toy a million times. How many times did I have Superfly jump off the fucking ring? So now I'm laying there and I'm looking up and I see Snuka and he's standing up there like this. And I'm like, he's going to fucking hit me with the splash. So he jumps off. I had to take most of it. I'm leaned all the way up. So he, what's his name, Kizarni, who was on your show, will tell you. So with the older guys, you got to kind of lift off the mat and you have to take most of it, you know. So he nails me, and it's funny because as soon as he hit me with it, bro, I just started crying. It was like I just took the Superfly splash in the middle of the fucking ring from Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Did you feel it?
Oh my God, dude! And he pinned me. And we stood up and we hugged each other, and I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, thank you so much. And then I grabbed the mic, and that was the night I retired. I was like, I'm never going to do anything else that I need to do in this business. That was it. So I just did my retirement speech, and I walked out of the arena that night.
That was your last match?
That was my last match, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome. It was fucking awesome.
Huh.
I noticed when they used to go off the top rope back in the day, they used to take more of the mat and less of the person. But these days, when I watch modern wrestling, they seem to land flat on the person's chest, trying to make it look a lot better. And they must feel it. They must feel the injuries.
I feel like the rings got smaller, or is it just me?
It's just you. It's always been. I want to say WWE's always ran a 16 by 16. They may have ran an 18 by 18 for a while. It's a 20 by 20, 18 by 18, 16 by 16. You rarely ever see a 20 by 20. And house shows, they just drag that 16 by 16 around. It looks way bigger on TV. The camera crews that Vince used made those rings look gigantic.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, like the camera crews then made the rings look big. The rings now make it look small.
It's the different cameras. Yeah.
Mate, when I saw them in Australia, I saw the ring. I thought, is this a joke? It looked like a tiny ring.
Yeah.
And maybe it's when you're small, things look bigger to you as well. Yeah. Maybe that's something. I don't know.
That could be.
Especially when it was like the tag team facing each other. You're like, look how small that ring is. Like, you just have to reach forward and you're tag him if you're in the middle.
Yeah, and you're trying to work the hot tag gimmick, and you're like, you're 2 feet from your guy. You know what I mean?
Mm. And I also noticed when girls bounce off the ropes, guys seem to lean into the ropes a lot more and get more spring off, whereas girls almost look like they're not springing off the rope. They're using the rope as a little bit.
Well, it takes the more weight you have, the easier it is to come off, which is another thing about rings that some people don't know. The harder you hit it and the more you disperse it, the less it hurts. So actually, the lighter you are, the more it hurts when you take a bump. So, and that's kind of the same with the ropes. Like when you hit it, you're not putting a lot of weight into it, so you're not getting a lot of spring off of it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I only noticed that of late, though. Maybe it's because there's so many women wrestlers these days that are doing it. We're going to shoot to a quick promo video. This is Kevin Swales. Check this out.
Here's the Barbarian, and I'm the Warlord. And together, we are the legendary Powers of Pain. And I'm giving a shout-out to our big brother, Kevin, with LJN Custom Figures. Kevin, get in it right now. We got to see you. Come on, big brother. Here's what we can do, and you know where to come and get them. That's right. If you want the best, you better come to the best. You come to him, and you get the LJN Custom Figures. We're going to look for you.
He could have been a wrestler, right? How good is Kevin Swales? He could have been a friggin' wrestler. He's as big as them boys.
Yeah, he's a giant.
Wow. He's a big boy.
And I knew Warlord was a big guy, and so is Barbarian, but so you're standing like almost at their height.
Yeah. I thought that video was incredible. He spent 3 hours with them that day. I think it was just on the weekend or something. Spent 3 hours chatting with them. What a great day it was for him.
That's awesome.
I think there's another wrestling Comic-Con coming in New Jersey next week, I think. There's like a shitload of them going there.
Yeah, Honky's going.
Is he?
Yeah, he was posting because he had COVID, and he got through the COVID, so he's going to show up. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jim. I was just going to shoot on something else that you've done in recent times. Not overly recent, but you've been in the game for so long. Like, you really have been in these groups almost since the start, one way or the other, with LJNs. And on more recent times, you started up a mock case that you called the Vaults.
Mm-hmm.
I know these.
I know those. Those are Brutus Valentines.
Yeah, that's right. These are Brutus Valentine's cases, and he asked me to put it on, and he apologizes for not being able to come on today. He would have loved to have had a chat with you, but he bought quite a lot off you at the beginning. Yeah. How are you going with those? Are they finished? Are you still going?
No, so it's kind of a lucky story in a sense. So in the beginning, I think you remember there was a lot of delays, and there was a lot of
It was COVID that was shipping and back and forth. It was all
that, and then I wanted to change the perforation and a few things. So anyway, long story short, they pissed me off so bad that I threw a damn fit because I didn't have any. So I only ordered 500, but I ended up with 1,000. They gave me 500 for free.
nice.
So I sold through the first 500, and then I sold I think another 200, and I have somewhere around 300 left. The issue became it's the shipping, because the shipping companies really no longer go by weight; they go by size and a dimension. And these things are so fucking big. So it's like, and these guys get so mad at me because they want one case, and I go, man, you don't want to do that. It's going to cost you 3 times or 4 times the amount of the case, because I'm selling them pretty cheap right now. I went from $19.99 down to like $8.99 right now.
Yeah.
They're on sale, and I even had a point. I think I had them at $6.99 for a while. But the problem is, whether you order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, it's about the same to ship it. So you order one, and you're paying, $35 for shipping, which is stupid. So I kind of stopped selling them for a while because it sucked. That's why I lowered the price to try to help everyone out. And B, people were just going off on me, and I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't work for FedEx. I don't work for UPS. I don't work for the post office. I don't work for Pirate Ship. I do everything I can to try to I cut the boxes. I make them smaller, whatever I can. And people just get so mad at me. And I'm like, dude, listen, I'm the only guy that I know of that doesn't charge anything for the box, nothing for the bubble wrap, nothing to go to the store, just exactly what they charge me. And I ship before you pay me the shipping. If anyone's ever bought from me, I ship it, and then I go, hey, this is what it cost. And I'm putting it on you guys to do the right thing and pay me. Yeah. So it's like, I'm taking a huge chance every time I do it. And so far I haven't been burned. There was one guy who got pissed off at the shipping cost, and it took him about a month to pay me. And finally, I don't usually like talk shit or anything, but I finally messaged him. I said, look, man, I know you've been in the groups for a little while. I said, but everybody knows me. Everybody supports me. And if I start telling everybody that you're not going to pay me for shipping after I already shipped them out, nobody's going to do business with you. So then he finally paid me. Yeah. So, but it's only happened once. But yeah, it's just the shipping, Zash. Yeah, it just got so bad, Yeah,
the shipping is bad. To ship one of those Hulk Hogan plush toys, the ones that the Walmart had, those 2 feet one.
Yeah.
To ship it to Australia, it would have the cheap. Yeah, the Walmart, whatever, those ones that there's like Brad, the Undertaker, whatever. Yeah. To ship one of them and try to squeeze it the smallest, and this plus you could really crunch it up in the box because it doesn't matter. It would the cheapest, and then the cheapest was to go by boat, and it would have been 2 months, was $144 Canadian.
Oh, my guess here, Dwight, is that
and the figure costed $39 Canadian plus tax.
If you're sending this to Australia and it's a Hulk Hogan, it can only be the one guy.
Yeah, it's the museum there in Melbourne.
Is that Rob Kerr? Kerr?
He has the West Wing, the North Tower. He has the memorabilia aisle. Lane.
It's
like a 4-day tour.
I'm surprised he hasn't been offered that.
And he also does his LJN stands that he does.
Yeah, he does. He does do the LJN stands. Yep.
Do you still have your collection, Jimmy, or no?
I do. It's all in boxes. I took it out of the office. I grabbed a few things out and threw them behind me. My Stretch Hogan in the box and just a few things. But I'm actually running through it. I'm going to be selling everything. I'm opening my own gym so I can train people, my own home gym. And I've dropped about $14,000 into it. And now I need to recoup that. So it's at the point, man, I've had these things basically my entire life. And I love them. I do. But it's at a point where they were up the hill like 45 minutes from my house in that office that you guys saw on the last show. And everybody's seen my office. And I maybe would get there every 2 months to get to even see them, Yeah. And so I finally just said, it's time. And I actually started a Facebook group and sold a bunch of stuff. And then I sort of bitched up and didn't want to sell anything else. And then I'd sell a few things and then I'd bitch up. The only thing I've sold so far that I truly regret was my original 1987 WWF turnbuckle pad. I sold that and immediately regretted it. Yeah.
I remember you selling that.
Someone had it. Who else had that?
It was probably the guy who bought it from me.
No. Be something nice.
It was someone that had it in the background. I can't remember who, and I asked about it because I saw it. I thought that was really.
It was me. You asked on the message. You asked on the Facebook post, right?
No, like I was talking. I wasn't with you.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Who the hell was that? I'm not gonna remember. That's 100%. 1000%. I'm not gonna remember.
But that's the one thing that I've gotten rid of that I was like, I wish I hadn't done that. But you know
that'd
what?
be a hard-
It is what it is.
That would
What's
be
that?
like a hard. That'd be a hard piece to get. Like an
And
LJN.
I got it from my buddy Scotty Schwartz, who was in The Toy and in Christmas Story. He played Flick, the kid who got his tongue stuck on the pole.
Uh-huh.
So he was up there, dude. They had an original WWF 80s ring truck that was just chilling there that wouldn't start. And he's like, you want to buy it for like $5,000? And I really did, but it was so far that I just couldn't get to it. It was on the other side of the US. So, but it was cool. I mean, to have an original, I would just drove that thing everywhere, man.
The turnbuckle would be a hard thing to get back because an LJN you could easily get back. You could book on eBay, bam, or get it from someone on the groups. But yeah, that's a good piece. I'm trying to remember who it was now. Oh well, not gonna remember.
Well, I saw. I'm trying to Reggie Park's belt. Have you ever had one of those? I mean,
I had one.
saw one. You have one?
I had. I sold it.
A what?
I saw in Australia there was a winged eagle. Well, Reggie Parks, he's the best belt designer in the world. And he died last year, unfortunately. And his belts are just so well renowned. I think he actually invented the winged eagle belt.
Yes. Several of the big belts he invented. Yeah.
Yes. He was an ex-wrestler, and one popped up in one of the Australian groups the other day, a winged eagle Reggie Parks belt. They wanted $8,500 US.
Jesus Christ.
In the belts world, they ask US prices. And believe it or not, that's not a crazy price for it. It is basically the exact belt that they use in the WWF or the WWE. It is identical to it, to a T. In fact, he made the belt, so he's made it exactly the same.
Yeah.
And now he's died. About a year before his death, he couldn't make any more belts due to his health. So they started slimming out a lot. Now they're not being made anymore. The prices are only going to go up on them.
Of course.
And mate, if I had a spare $8,500 US lying around, I would grab that belt with both hands, and I think it's something real.
It'd be nice to get like. It would be nice to get like ring worn belts. That's for sure. Like I think what's that big guy? Flair's nephew or son-in-law that has all those belts of his. Conrad Thompson. He has like all those belts in the display.
Right.
I thought Flair had to hawk all his belts for all the money he owed High Spots.
But it'd be cool to get one of those belts, like to actually get Hogan's belt.
Right.
I wonder what that was.
Like, where do these go? Are they museums? I mean, you never see the original belts go up for sale anywhere, do you?
Mm-mm. You know, Brutus made a point one time about the guys with the biggest collections usually don't show them off.
True.
You know, so
exactly right.
Yeah,
100% spot.
Yeah, you don't want.
I don't even like the winged eagle. I think it's the ugliest belt ever made. No, I like the one right before it, the 86 belt, the one that he wore to the ring at WrestleMania 3.
Yep.
And
that had all the flags. That had the flags.
Yeah, yeah, I love that belt. I want that belt tattooed on my back eventually.
Yeah,
I love that belt.
Yeah, but the winged belt is iconic. Like everyone knows
it is. I think if you started in the 82, 83, 84 era, it's not as iconic. Because to me, and this is going to sound really bad, but to me, it sort of signifies the end of an era because I was such a Hogan mark. And the Hogan era up to where he lost to the Warrior, scratch that. Up to where he lost to Andre February 5th, 1988 for the big event, or I'm sorry, I guess the main event, Friday night's main event. They didn't really they had the 86 belt, and then it was the winged belt for that event. And that's kind of when wrestling started to die for me, because then it was like, Hogan's not God anymore, so it's not as much fun, you know? But I stayed with it. I did stay with it all the way through, I would say 93, and then I sort of lost my vigor. And then 95, 96, I came back. And then when the Stone Cold era hit and the NWO era hit, then I jumped back in head first.
Yeah,
and I was a huge Austin fan. And I didn't think I would ever like anyone like I liked Hogan, but I really loved Steve Austin. I'm going to tell you a really cool Steve Austin story. Now I know Steve, but at this point I did not. It was WrestleMania 13 in Rosemont, Illinois, at the Rosemont Horizon, and we were all staying at the Westin in Chicago, and which was right near the event. They actually had the Slammies in the Westin. I went to the Slammies as well. Anyway, I didn't really know Steve Austin. In fact, I didn't know Steve Austin. At the time, I knew Shawn Michaels. I knew Jose Aldo, a couple different guys, a few guys here and there. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrash. Anyway, so Austin's in the bar, and I wanted a picture with Steve Austin. And this is back before cell phones, so you had the little fucking cameras. And so I go up to Austin, and I say, hey, Mr. Austin, can I get a picture? And he goes, hey, brother, I'll take a picture with you, but I want to do it right before I leave. Otherwise, I've got to take 50 pictures, right? Which is fair. So I immediately leave the bar, run to the bank of payphones that's down in the Westin to call my mom to tell her I'm about to take a picture with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Meanwhile, this kid who I talked to for maybe 5 minutes earlier in the night comes running up to the payphones like 5 minutes later, and he goes, hey, man, you got to get back to the bar. Austin says he won't leave till he takes a picture with you because he promised. He didn't fucking know me. And Steve Austin, this is Steve Austin. And I go back. I mean, he was still not quite there yet. That was the night he wrestled Brett. And it was like, he just showed how double tough he was, and everybody sort of fell in love with him. But he just wouldn't leave the bar for this random kid that he said, I'm going to take a picture with you before I leave. He's like, go get him because I want to go. But he wasn't going to leave until he took a picture with me, which I thought was really cool. And we've talked about that since then. And he's like, yeah, that's how I was, I guess. I don't know.
Is that the WrestleMania that he was bleeding?
Yeah, with Brett. Yeah.
That was a good WrestleMania.
I believe Shamrock was the ref. It was the worst main event in WrestleMania history. It was Undertaker and Sid Vicious. Terrible, terrible, terrible match.
I haven't seen that match, but I have heard about it.
Yeah. Oh, don't watch it. Save yourself.
Yeah, the Stone Cold era was good. Like the Stone Cold, The Rock, NWO. That was a good era.
Yeah. It was the only thing that really got me back into wrestling. And then after that was over, that was it for me. I was done. I just was done. And even now, like, I won't watch shit except mostly I'll just watch 80s, like Coliseum videos from the 80s or Saturday Night's Main Event, WrestleManias, whatever, the original Big Four. Every once in a while, I'll go on YouTube and I'll type in Austin saves Stephanie McMahon or Austin saves Team WWE. You know what I mean? Like just those big Austin pops, because to relive those pops until you've heard those pops when Austin's glass used to break, it was fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was like
when he came in with a beer truck.
Yeah, dude, like the crowd. It's funny because I'll tell you a cool pop story. I was at a TV taping back when Hogan was on top of the world, and I was right behind the decibel meter or whatever the meter was that they had there. I don't think it was in decibels. And they come on before the event because they film several shows in one day. It's not just one show. And Mean Gene will do his thing, and he'll go, hey, we're going to go live in 30 seconds. We want you to make as much noise as humanly possible. So everyone will scream and scream and scream. And they'll get it as high as they can get it to start the show. And then Warrior comes out and it gets up here. And it was like it hit like 118, 117, 115, 119 at the most. Hogan comes out in the main event, 141. Dude, I was like, and I'm watching that meter and I'm going, what the fuck just happened, dude? Like, they couldn't get these people when they were trying to make them scream. They couldn't do it. But when Hogan hit at the end of the night, after they'd been screaming all day, it was the loudest it had been. And Austin used to do that. Those pops were just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, Hogan was the biggest. He was everything, you know what I mean? You have your walls covered in him. You've got him on your sheets. You dream about him, everything. You know, he's Hogan. How can one guy become that big amongst other guys that were really talented, really good-looking, you know,
charisma, yeah.
But
how come he had it over everyone with the
theme,
crowd?
It starts right away with his theme song. When that starts, it starts from the theme song, then he comes out, and it's the point. He did everything that he had to do to be the best, and he did it great. Didn't matter what else anyone else did. He played
It's funny. I talked to my buddy Jerry Briscoe a lot about the X Factor and having it, and how Austin had it, and Dwayne Johnson had it, and Triple H had it, and Ric Flair had it. He goes, but none of them had what Hogan had. He's like, they all had it, and they could carry the company. and they were superstars and they transcended the business. But something that Hogan had, he's like, I've never seen it before, and I've never seen it since, and I doubt I'll ever see it again.
It won't. It can't.
Yeah,
be.
because he made wrestling in the map.
Yeah.
Right?
And he was nowadays. It's like you have The Rock and you have Triple H and you have all these guys, and they're all parts of the puzzle, and they're all huge. But then it was you had Hogan and everybody else.
That's right.
And that's just the way it was. And if you weren't in a program with Hogan, you were everyone else.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly right. It's once in a lifetime personality, and he just came in the scene at the right time for wrestling. And it all just seemed to work perfectly. The yellow, the tan skin, everything worked for him.
Look at that. I mean, look at this. It's 2022. I'm 46 years old. I just started my own fitness line. Look at the colors of my shirts.
Yeah.
Red and yellow. It's like I wrestled 176 matches, pro matches, and I had HH on my tape in every match. Yep. I wrestled in high school. I had HH on my tape in every match. Like there's just something about that guy, man.
You need the tears in the back as well, Jim.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Hey, we do segments on the show every week, and we've got a come on segment where Duarte the bully picks on high prices. So we're gonna go straight over to Duarte the Pond with Come On.
With all the crazy things going on in the past and present, we have a man who will tell you exactly how he sees it. Come on with Duarte the Pond.
You got to show the pictures. I don't remember what I sent you.
All right, let's show the pictures.
$100. That's Canadian though for an Andre the Giant. These prices on commons, you got to say this is ridiculous pricing, even though it's $100. If this is the prices, I'm selling my collection and I'm buying like another house. $100 for a Jake, and that's with no snake.
Yeah, but he's got snakes on his pants at least.
Yeah, it's not
Two of them.
Look at the size of his hands. You know what they say about guys with big hands?
They do a lot of crack.
Yeah. Look, Big John, $100. Like all the common guys, like the first series guys, going for 100. People asking $100.
God, that's terrible.
That one's the worst one so far.
Look at it. Look at them legs. Come on. We should
Come
be
on, man. Look at these prices. like these figures are going for a lot more than they used to, and maybe it's just because I think it's too much because I always find them for cheap, right? But those figures are like $5-10 figures to me. And I would never pay more than $10 for an Andre the Giant, a Big John Stud, any of them, because they're so easy to find.
Well,
it's funny with the prices. The other day I was cleaning out my office because I was putting everything in boxes. My girl, I had that, that old chest in the 90s that had Hogan on one side, the Road Warriors, Ultimate Warrior, and Jake. So I have one of those, and I've had it since the day it came out. I bought it at Kmart. Anyway, and I had this red sheet that was down at the bottom because it's wood inside, and I would throw my my good LJNs in plastics in there. And I've had that thing, I'm talking, I don't know what it was, 91, something, 92. And my girl is going through the box and she goes, I'm going to take this red sheet out of here, okay? And I go, okay. She pulls it out, fucking Boss Man nightstick. And she's like, oh, what's this? And I go, give me that. I take it. And I sold it to Expedito for $250 like that night. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had it. I never even knew I owned one.
Speaking of Expedito.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
And that's a good price, $250, because that's an easy $300 piece.
Yeah.
Just a nightstick. Like the Bossman figure isn't worth as much as the nightstick, and that's what's crazy because there's less nightsticks out there, and you're not going to open up a fresh Bossman off a package just to get the nightstick,
Yeah, well, that's right. Those who are listening, what is the most expensive LJN accessory?
Being Honky Tonk Man's friend, very expensive.
Yeah, yes, I can imagine.
Isn't it? Is the nightstick, right? Or is it Liz's purple skirt? What's
no,
Liz's purple?
No, it's not the skirt. It's either the 2x4. It's either the 2x4 or the nightstick.
The 2x4, I just can't.
I feel like I've paid 100 for a 2x4, but that might
Yeah.
have been a long time ago.
Exactly. Like now, a 2x4 and a nightstick are the two hardest, I think, in my
What's an
opinion.
Elizabeth purple skirt worth then? I thought that was the most expensive.
I thought it was too, the purple skirt. What does the purple
No,
skirt go for?
I think I see people selling for 300.
So we got Shad in the group is saying nightstick or 2x4. Shad, what does the purple skirt go for right now?
Come on, Shad.
I think it was for 300 if I'm not mistaken. And that's with the figures. So you guys
So
think
it's probably about the same then. All three of them
No.
are probably hovering right around the.
think about
Oh,
it.
with the figure you said?
Yeah, with the I've never seen it without. I've never seen it just as that itself going for sale, but only with the figure. Now I see for 300. So you got to take the cost of the figure out. So I think it's a 2x4, but I think it's harder for the 2x4 and the nightstick because you got to know if it's real or not, right?
Well, that's why you got to turn to your co-host.
Yeah.
So when I got the nightstick, I went straight to my LJN Bible and measured it and weighed it, and I knew I was like, okay, I got the real McCoy. Saw one today for $395. Figure alone was $30. So you're looking at $365. Then they're saying for the skirt.
But
Holy
that's what
shit!
you're asking, right, Shad? That's not what it's sold for.
I don't know. Did it go?
Canadian. That's Canadian.
Oh, that's Canadian. What's that? US? Is Canadian lower or higher?
You guys like 395.
Canadians
Be
like
like-
Australia.
Yeah, it'd be like 330 American,
Okay.
maybe less. I'm not sure, but
So they're probably all three around the same. 30 for the figure.
fuck.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm glad I got.
I'm going to be honest with you, and my girl talks about this. I've never really cared about accessories or even what condition they were in. I'm sort of that idiot that saves every LJN. I have a box. I'm an idiot. I have like 6 boxes, big boxes of beaters that you fucking customizers would kill me for. And it's like they're in such shit condition that it's like every time I go to sell them, I go, I think I'll leave them how they are. I don't want any more of these things cut up. I don't want any more of these things painted. So I've just got boxes and boxes and boxes of beaters that are literally
Get rid
worth
of them.
nothing. I know. Now I'm getting rid of everything. But so I'm about to flood the market with beaters as well. But I've never really cared about how they look until I started really building out my room. And then it was like white Hogan, red Hogan. I got a yellow Hogan from Brandon Ward. And then, like the good ones, I would try to find some minty ones. But other than that, I didn't really care. Jim, I'm calling dibs. Calling dibs on what? On all my beaters?
Hackers.
I got a lot, man. You better have a bunch of money ready. Even at like shit money, it's a lot.
Well, what are your thoughts about customizing these days, Jim? Because we're getting into the 3D printing stage of the world. We're getting into the casting and molding. Is there like people seem to hate the fact that we're not cutting up an LJN? But
so let's start from the beginning.
Having an LJN shaped figure that's not an original for a custom.
Yes, Shad, I'll take any money you want to give me. Going back to the beginning, let's go back to Jim Cooley of previous years, before all the groups, before I got into the customizing groups. I would see them and puke in my mouth every time I saw an LJN. Okay, what's the guy's name? He customizes. He has a YouTube channel and he makes the craziest shit. He'll make like a 3-headed monster. Mike Steyer. And I love Mike Steyer. This is not any disrespect to Mike Steyer, but he was the first customizer YouTube channel. He's actually going to hear this right now, probably, and he's not going to know this until right now because I've never told him. He was the first YouTube customizer I saw on YouTube. And I actually went on there and talked shit to him for like 3 weeks straight on all his posts about what he was doing to these LJNs. And it was a different name or whatever. And then later in life, I think I bought a custom from him and he doesn't know it's me. But there's actually a post where I'm like, you're a dipshit. You're doing this, you're doing that, because I hated it. I was like, please don't fuck these toys up. There's only so many of them. And at the time, I didn't know there was as many as there is. Yeah. Now I do because of Brutus. But at the time, I thought, okay, there's just this limited amount of them. Let's not fuck them up. Yeah. So anyway, then I get into the customizing groups and meet Johnny and a couple of the other guys, and, couple guys. And I was like, okay, what they're doing is awesome. The good ones. I really like them. In fact, I bought I bought a repaint. I can't ever say I bought a custom because I've never bought a custom. I've only bought repaints. Here's my stance nowadays. I think with all of the ability to 3D print, to clone, to make them from scratch. I think unless a figure is absolutely unsavable, I think we leave it as is or repaint it or restore it. That's my opinion. That's not me disrespecting customizers, because listen, you guys do shit that I could never fucking do. And I look at the figures and I go, damn, those are dope. And that includes everybody's stuff. You know, I love all your guys' stuff. I love Brandon's stuff. I don't know what it is. I love Brandon Ward's stuff a lot. I think I just fell in love with his stuff right away. And I love Zash's stuff. What I like about Zash is he does like the heads. I love that hashtag save the beaters. That's my man. You're my man, Shad. You're my new favorite person. And so I like the heads being made. I like the clone bodies. I like the 3D printing. I would hope that eventually, I know it's expensive. I don't really know the cost, but I would hope eventually we would go in that direction more than destroy, because eventually, guys, we will run out of LJNs. You know, it will happen eventually. These are so many of you guys customizing these things, and we have the contest, and we have this. Well, I need to cut off this head, and I got to cut off this arm, and I got to cut off this leg, and I'm like, yeah, damn, you know. But I get it. I do get it. But I'm a purist. I'm nostalgic. I'm a bitch, and I don't like it that much. So I would rather we use the clones.
I like getting everyone's opinion, whether you guys agree or don't agree. Everyone's got their own opinion on the matter, and that's what, you know, it's what counts. We don't judge anyone for doing anything a certain way. If you're a 3D printer, go for it. That's fantastic. I think, you know, onwards and upwards. Let's move with the times. If you want to do things the old school way, hand sculpt a face, friggin' brilliant. You're better than me. You're doing a fantastic job. You know, you're doing something that's really artistic. If you have a 3D printer, then it is, you know, great to be able to 3D print stuff. If you custom mold, it's very handy because you can make something very cheap. You can have a Series 6 figure that you can use for a custom on the cheap. Not everyone custom molds, not everyone 3D prints. That's where the cost can get a bit hefty for certain people who want to, you know, they've got a beta sitting there and they got it for $5 or $10 and they've got, are they going to get someone to cast something for that price? They probably can't, you know what I mean? So they sit there and go, well, I'd be better off cutting this up rather than buying one of those casts off a guy who does casting and molding. What are your thoughts, Stuart? That's awesome. Always great to hear you talk, man.
You have smoked yourself retarded.
Look at that. That's
to me. It doesn't really matter. Like I don't mind chopping a couple. Like I would if I'm what's it called again? Doing a custom like I ask for figures that have the arms chopped off already. Like if there's like really bad, like I won't chop like any good one, right?
If something's
but
missing,
I also like in the 3D prints because they're easy to paint and stuff like that. But like I only chop them like if a hand's missing. If it's like a clean figure, I won't chop it up. I feel bad. I'll sell it.
Yep. And that's good points as well. And while we're on customs, why don't we shoot on over to customs of the week? Another segment we've got. Jim, Cooley Crabb, we want to hear your favorites out of all these, man. So let us know what's your favorite.
Boy.
And now it's time for the guys to look, like, and discuss their favorite customs of the week.
There we have it, guys. Customs of the week.
Let me start with, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Because I see that Duarte is on mute. Let me start with the fact that Bret Hart was the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know who made that shit. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I will say this. So I might get some of these guys wrong, but I'm guessing on most of them. I'm a firm believer that LJNs. Okay, this is another ridiculous thing that I'm going to say that everyone's going to go, oh God, here we go. I'm a firm believer that LJN should only be made into wrestlers from the LJN era. So like the Tazes and all that shit, the Buff Bagwells, you can keep all those. They look great, but I don't like them. I saw a Terry Gordy in there that I really liked. At least I think it was a Terry Gordy. I saw Chris Adams with his sunglasses, or that could have been Gino. Was that Gino or was that Chris Adams?
Gino Hernandez.
Gino Hernandez. Okay, so I knew it was either Gino or Chris. So I saw the Gino Hernandez I liked. I liked the Iceman Parsons. That was really clean. There was I dig the cameraman because I always thought they should have had some cameramen in the set.
And what a great job that was.
Yeah, that was really good. But I didn't hate the Jimmy Hart with the earthquake thing, you know. That was cool with the Canadian. But yeah, I would say my favorite out of those, strictly for nostalgia purposes, would be the cameraman because I always wanted him. But I really, really liked that Iceman Parsons. I thought that was dope. And I do like the Gino Hernandez as well. And that was Gordy, right? That was Terry Gordy I saw?
I think so. I don't know.
It looked like a Terry Gordy.
I think so.
It was a Palmiere. It was Joseph Palmieres.
That was a really good rundown, man. You captured a lot of them in there. You've got a good memory. A lot of guys, when I asked Dwight, what do you think of them customers? He's like, oh, can you replay it? It's like, we've lost Dwight. Where is he? He's gone. Well, we're getting to the end of the episode, guys. But before we go, I just want to say a couple of things. Our next episode will be on in 2 weeks. And it's our 20th episode. We're going to be having a special demonstration night. So we're going to have 7 of the top customizers on our next episode. The cameras are going to be pointing on the customs that they're making. We're going to be doing close-up shots. Everyone can ask questions. It's going to be a great little tutorial episode for everyone. So you've got to tune into that in 2 weeks, our 20th episode. Jim, I want to ask you one more question before we let you go. I know we briefed on the wrestlers that you're friends with and stuff, but can you name your top 5 buddies in the wrestling world?
Jerry Briscoe, Honky Tonk Man, Brian Blair, Bushwhacker Luke, and Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah. And I had a story because you told me you wanted me to tell you a road story. So I had a really cool story that I was going to tell you if you have time.
Yeah, mate. Always got time.
So I was at this is a really, it's not long, but I'm going to get through it pretty quickly. I'm in a bar. I am at the time 17 years old, not allowed to be in a bar. Go to outside of San Francisco. The show was in Oakland. I go to walk into the bar. I had several friends in there, my friend Jolynn and her daughters. And the guy's like, I need your ID. And I feel a hand come down on my trap. I had no traps, but I had a shoulder. And he said, he's with me. And the guy goes, oh, okay. And I turn, and it's the Undertaker. So, and he was there, and he knew who I was, but we weren't friends or anything. But he knew I had known people, so he was like, get him in. So we sit down at this table. Now, at this table, this is how it's situated. It's me. Undertaker is next to me. Marty Jannetty is on the end chair, like where the head of the table.
Yeah.
The Hebner brothers on the other side of the table. Jolynn and her 2 daughters. Bret Hart is at the bar. We had in the bar, I believe Doink was in the bar, Matt Bourne. We had Mr. Fuji in the bar. We had Macho Man in the bar. Several people in the bar. Shawn Michaels is walking around. Okay, so Jannetty had gotten hurt either at the Rumble or right before the Rumble. It was somewhere in that area. It was when they were getting ready to do the 93 Rumble. And Marty was smoking a cigarette, and Shawn was in his ear about it. Like, he's always telling him not to. Anyway, this is some insider information I'm going to give you right now that I'm probably going to get in trouble for. At the time, Shawn had a thing for big, dominant style women. And when I mean big, dominant style women. Now, he had messed around with this girl in the San Francisco area the show prior, and maybe the show prior to that. And then he dogged her out. So she comes into the bar, and she's got this semi-buff wannabe Mexican gangster guy with her, and he's just the toughest guy ever, right? Meanwhile, half the WWF roster is in the building. So there's this in the bar. There's a few stairs that go up, and there's another level. It's only like 3 steps, so it's like it's not like you're going to another floor. And there's a brass bar that runs across. So then there's these pub tables up there.
Huh.
Okay, so she's up there with this guy, and somehow her and Sean get to jaw-jacking. Now, while this is going on, Blackjack Lanza is in the room, and him and Undertaker are arguing over who was tougher, Lanza's era or Undertaker's era. Mind you, they're arguing for each other. So Lanza's saying, no, you guys are double tough. And Undertaker's going, no, you guys were way tougher than us. It was a cool argument to watch happen, right?
Yeah.
So the girl and Sean start to get into it. And all of a sudden, the Mexican dude pipes up. And he's like, fuck you, what are you going to do? And Sean's like, what? I, not knowing any better, think Shawn Michaels is in trouble. So I tap Undertaker on the leg and I go, Mark, this guy's trying to fight Sean. Mark's drunk. So he stands up and he goes, what? Picks up his chair and just fucking throws it across the room, turns around and starts beeline for this dude. This is funny. So he goes up to the little brass bar and he climbs up at one step as if he's not fucking tall enough. Starts poking the guy in the forehead. You want to make a fucking name for yourself? I'll tear your eyeballs out and skull fuck you right here in front of everyone. And the guy's pissing his pants, right? And the Undertaker's poking him in the forehead. A big dude. This is the best part. Sean's behind him in full character. You feel kind of stupid now, don't you? Yeah, you feel kind of dumb now, don't you? He's popping around inside. He's making faces at the guy. But here's the best part. So, it's kayfabe, whatever. I feel that I'm standing there because I want a bird's eye view. And I feel this presence, Sash. And I turn and I'm like looking. Every wrestler that was in that bar was right there waiting for this dude to do something. And I mean, this dude was in a fucking pit of pythons, dude. And finally he ends up going out the side door. And Mark goes and sits down and Sean walks over and he goes, hey, big man, I don't get many, but I think I could have handled that one. But it was like the best fucking thing. I'm like 17. I'm watching this. I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, dude. So anyway, when you told me you wanted some road stories, I had that one geared up for you. So I figured I'd tell you on the way out.
At 17 years old, that would just be the biggest thing in the world, wouldn't it?
Oh, dude, it was insane. Insane. Yeah.
Well, Jim, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for the awesome stories. Thank you to everyone for watching. And we'll see you next week on LJN, or next fortnight on LJN Fight Night Podcast. Thanks, Jim. See you, boys.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.